Welcome to the Filmmakers 412 podcast. I'm your host, Michael Ray. Today's guest is Todd Wolfson. In today's podcast, we talk about marketing, the importance of networking, and we talk about Todd's feature film, Batshit. Here's the interview with Todd Wolfson. Todd, thank you for coming in today.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, so tell me a little background. First of all, what do you do when you're not making films?
Sure. So when I'm not making films, I work a regular job. I work for BNY Mellon, and it's not really exciting. It's not my dream job, but it pays the bills. And other than that, when I'm not working, I'm a writer. I mean, I started off writing shorts, actually poems, and then they became short stories. And then from there, short stories, I just always been a film buff. I love cinema. And I don't mean just like one genre. I love it all pretty much. But the main genre I love is horror and sci-fi. And I just can relate with the characters, and I love underdog stories. Anything about evil versus evil or good versus evil, you know. So I'm definitely outside of the box type of person. I love to write. That's pretty much where I come from, and that's what I do. I'm the first thing I'll tell people is like, they'll ask me, they'll be like, "Oh, you're a filmmaker." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm more of a storyteller, writer." I mean, I visualize when I'm writing, I visualize it like it's a movie. Even back when I was just writing short stories and poems, like I was just, I visualize things, and this is how I see it. And then I kind of just realized, oh wow, like why am I not making films? Like, and so that would be one of my main things I always tell people is that, whenever I'm not making films or when I'm not working, I'm always constantly a creative. I've always been a creative person, so I'm always coming up with these wild ideas in my head.
So do you like the camera work of the whole thing? Or do you DP your own stuff, or do you get someone else to help you?
Good question. No, so I just started being a DP, like operating my own camera. I just bought a camera on Amazon. It was just a little Canon Rebel. I'm not a tech guy. Don't ask me. I have no idea. All I know, that's something I'm just starting to learn right now. But I can give you a little brief history of how I got into filmmaking. So I started working with another crew, Shadow Frame. Shout out to Shadow Frame. I'd love for you to get Matt on here as well. Matthew Dialosis, shout out. Jason Boyer, great guys. So what happened was I won't get too much into a tangent here, but I'll just say a year before I met those guys, I was going to go buy a camera and start making my own movies. And I didn't know anything about it myself. I didn't go to school, still haven't gone to school for film. But what happened, a funny thing happened is that I started working, and as much as, I could say, I'll just say this. I met someone at work who I worked with, and they introduced me to Matt and Jason, and that's how I heard they were doing these 48-hour film festivals, and that's kind of how I got involved with it. I just, I always, like I said, I always loved cinema. I love film. So I wanted to get more into that road. At the time I was working on trying to make a graphic novel with another artist, because I just write, I don't draw, so I always needed to find somebody who could draw. So basically what happened was all this time had gone by, and I wasn't able to do anything. I kind of went into a dark place where I was like, I'm not doing anything creatively, and this is what I love to do, is create. And it just all came together, really. Like I just hooked up with Matt's crew, and they were doing 48-hour film festivals. So every time they did one, I was like, yeah, I want to be a part of this. And I just got experience here or there over the past year. So back in 2015, I made my first short film, 8-Bit Bloodbath, and I made it with Shadow Frame. And then we just kept going. I was basically one short film after the other, just kept making movies. And I made my first 48-hour film it was the horror genre, and it was for
you lucked out there, huh? You got the horror genre.
Yeah. So, well, it was actually it was Halloween. It was during Halloween, so it was like it was gonna have to be in that horror genre. So that's why I was like, yes.
Oh, there's a 48-hour especially for horror.
Yeah, they had.
Yeah, okay, I didn't.
They
I
had
forgot
that,
about that.
Yeah, they had that going for a while, and then I don't know if they're still doing it, but I just figured, this is my first time doing a 48-hour film festival. I had some experience with it, just working with other teams, but I just figured, what the heck, I'll try it out. So I went and I did it. We didn't make it in time. We missed it by like 5 minutes or something. It is what it is, but they played I still screened our movie, and it got a huge response. Everybody was, entertained by it. So that's, to me, what I always tell people, like, that's what I'm here to do, entertain people. So if people enjoy what they're watching, if they're, they laugh, or they mostly laugh, or if they jump, or they're scared, or they're just moved by what I'm trying to, that's basically what I love, is getting that.
So what's your biggest movie making success to this point?
Well, success as in,
Like which your projects do you like the best?
oh, okay, good question. I'd say Sponge, just because that's the one that got the reaction out of the audience. I didn't win any awards on Sponge, man. I didn't really care about that. To me, it goes back to, did it entertain? Did people enjoy it? Did they like watching it? And whenever I put, everyone that I worked with, we put so much into it for something that's such a low budget, short film. And it was also a lot of tributes to a lot of things that I love. It was my love to the old school, I say old school, but the 1950s and 60s drive-in theater, the horror monster movies. It has a Nightmare on Elm Street tribute in there with the girls in the taking a bubble bath. And instead of Freddy's claw coming up, you see the Queen sponge come up. So I have a lot of things in there that, that I love as a filmmaker, things that inspired me. And I think a lot of people saw that, and there was also, I put in every time, throughout the trailer, I'm having a brain fart. Sorry, you can cut that out. But you would see Sponge, the title drops, and something would happen. Someone would get killed, or But everybody would walk out there and they would scream. They go Sponge, and yeah. So that was
cool.
I loved that. To me, that, like I said, that was definitely for me a rewarding moment.
So what kind of drugs do you take to come up with these ideas?
I don't take any drugs. Back in like high school and stuff.
Maybe,
but
then,
but now, not nowadays.
Nothing
no.
that you're admitting to anyways.
No, I'm just a super weirdo, creative person.
You'd like to do this for a living, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
This is not a hobby. This is my passion. At the same time, I would like to. I'm serious about making it a business, a career, and by doing that, I just in the past couple of years, I from the ground up built my own company. I met Austin Burkhart. Shout out to him. He's my producer / business partner, and he runs a podcast called Classy Nerd Talk, and he helps me with a lot of stuff. And I also have a lot of other people that help me, and I'm working on a website for Just Buried Productions, but you can go on Facebook to find us right now, and we have a YouTube channel. If you just type in Just Buried Productions, you'll find all of our films up to date. And like I said, I'm definitely taking this serious.
It sounds like you have the start of a plan to make it big.
Oh yeah.
I mean, how
I can dive into
literal,
that.
how literal
Well,
is that?
my inspiration for independent film mainly comes from the indie guys, which is Troma Films. They did Toxic Avenger, and then you got Full Moon Production. Full Moon. They did. You got Charles Band. He did Puppet Master and a lot of stuff. So I kind of follow those guys with their model of what they did, and
you learned this through their websites, their YouTube videos, whatever.
Yeah, YouTube videos. Lloyd Kaufman has books that he wrote on how to make your first film. I botched the title of that, but he basically stuff like that. And I noticed like Lloyd Kaufman, he has his own, he calls them Tromettes. So what I did was I took my own spin on that. Tromettes, I'll explain, are basically, think of Miller Lite girls, but they go out there and they kind of rope you in. So when you're at the conventions, you'll see them standing there with Lloyd, and they'll basically be handing out stuff and just being informative. So I came up with an idea for my own spokesmodel, and that was Zombisha, which is a zombie girl, and she's the spokesmodel of my company. So when we go to conventions, she'll be talking to people, and also we're doing these promotional videos, and I just came up with a new character called, you're going to love this, Zombro. Get it? So yeah, Zombro is kind of like the alter ego of me, kind of like he's the.
So I have to confess something. Mm-hmm. Horror films are like my least favorite genre.
That's okay. It's okay.
But there's one thing, maybe this is why I don't understand it, is there's this thin line between being scared and laughing. Like it sounds like, when you come up with these names and stuff, it sounds like you're trying to make a joke. That's right, aren't you?
I'll say this and I want to touch on that too, but I'll say this real quick. When a while back, I was talking to my dad about this. And to me, what I love about horror films, and a lot of people don't realize this, but most horror films aren't, you would think like, yeah, if you don't like horror, you don't like being scared, that's one thing, I get that. But if you look at it, a metaphor for horror films is why I love it the most, is it's mainly a survival. It's about surviving life. It's you versus life. It's you put yourself in a situation and you have to face your own demons, whatever it is. If it's a clown, a monster.
That sounds pretty deep.
Whatever. Yeah, it is. It is. That's why I love it. And it's also not just about always losing. You have heroes within horror. If you look at it, there's almost every classic horror movie, it's always good versus evil. Who's the good? There's a hero. There's somebody trying to fight evil. That's why I love horror. Not just to be scared, not just to see all the blood and guts, but I do love that too. But it's just, that to me is a huge metaphor, and that's why I love it. But I totally get why people don't like horror films, to each their own. It's like, I don't like musicals. I hate musicals.
It seems like, yeah, I hate musicals too. But I just don't get, I guess I do get it. If you get into indie film, if you're just getting into indie film, probably 50% of the films made are horror movies. Is it just budget? Budget driven? I think,
honestly, it's weird because I looking back at it, I know, I'm drawing a blank, but I just met him too at a convention. But the guy who did Friday the 13th, him and I'll say also Wes Craven, they both weren't really super into the horror genre. They just, they liked it, I'm sure, to a certain degree, but they weren't like hardcore into it. They just were like, they found something that people really liked, and it was original. Like, Wes Craven created a character for Robert Englund, about a dream demon. It comes into your dreams and he kills you. That to me is like, if that's not scary, I don't know, and whether you want to say, okay, there's people that are like, well, okay, I like stuff that's in the real world. Well, yeah, but there are elements that they can clash. For example, like Wes Craven came up with that idea from a real life story about a kid, I think in China or Japan, I forget where, but basically he was having these recurring nightmares, and they were the night terrors, and he ended up having a heart attack, and he died. So that's where Wes Craven got the idea for Nightmare on Elm Street. And Friday the 13th, Cunningham, Sean, I might be messing up his name again, but Cunningham, he came up with that premise of just what I loved about that, not to get super into it, but I'll say that's just going back to your question, is that with Friday the 13th, that can be done simple budget because it's in the woods, it's a slasher. I did my first short film, Ape Bloodbath, which was a tribute to Friday the 13th. Same deal. It's just a slasher. And to answer your question, that I can see being something that a lot of directors like, well, I can do this, horror film if it's
no budget, pretty much.
No budget, depending on the premise, the story. Now, if it's like, if it's a slasher, yeah, that can be done on a low budget. If it's something that requires monsters or demons or whatever, werewolves, that can be a lot of money. And I would know because I have a lot of ideas that I want to do that have those kind of characters and stories. But, all that adds up. You got the makeup, special effects, just there's so many things, elements that I'm learning.
Who's your go-to person for special effects?
Ooh,
Special effects makeup.
Special effects makeup. I'll say first off, since I'm, born and raised in Pittsburgh, shout out Tom Savini. So we were just talking about Friday the 13th. He did the special effects makeup on that. And he remade the Night of the Living Dead movie. I'm drawing a blank. I know there's a lot of them, and I do know. As far as special effects makeup guys, I'll say Tom Savini, and I'll say Cronenberg. David Cronenberg is definitely another guy. He did The Fly.
Are you talking local?
No, David Cronenberg's not
I'm saying local.
Local?
Yeah. I don't. If you were going to do a film tomorrow, who would you reach out to? Have you ever met Shay Francis?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I work with Shay.
She's done some great makeup.
Oh, yeah. Now, let me be real specific, and this is not, I'm not saying anything bad about any makeup artist. I'm not talking about Shay. I love Shay. I actually worked with her on a lot of things. But there is a difference because there are FX artists out there that primarily work on just specifically molding, making those Freddy Krueger molds, the life cast. And there's people that can do a lot of stuff. There was a guy, he could do kind of like what they do with Ninja Turtles, like Jim Henson, the puppet stuff, but with the robotic stuff. So there's a lot of different types of FX. When people, they just say, you just work with that makeup artist. Well, that makeup artist might be really awesome at doing makeup, but can they do those other things?
Right, a lot of different specialties inside of it.
So then when you ask me, that can be a completely different thing.
Are most of your shoots no budget or low budget?
Mainly, my first 5 short films, all low budget, all out of my pocket. I mean, you want to talk about people saying, what's the producer? Who's the producer? I'm the producer. I'm paying for everything. So that's the thing. Now, and this has nothing to do with, I'm not talking about anyone in the film industry at all in a bad way, in any way. Everybody, I believe, deserves to get paid. And now that's where it comes to the passion of it. I don't ever see a dime. So I'm always paying the actors. I'm paying the makeup artist. I'm paying everyone. So, and I'm not sitting here complaining about that. I'm just saying, just to put it out there, if people want to make film, they have to understand that no one just hands you don't get paid right away unless you're one of the lucky ones or something. Somebody. But with me, since day one, no matter what kind of film I was making, whether it was horror, comedy, whatever, I was always the producer coming up with money to make my own film. And to this day, I still do that. And the only difference now is that when I made my first feature, Batshit, actually in 2018, which we're still working on because there's a lot involved with it, claymation, animation. So with that film, it was only actually, we raised, I'm very proud of it. We raised about $3,000. And that's here in Pittsburgh, the thing is, you compare it to Hollywood. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say that for a small independent film, what we did in this one warehouse, no one else could do. With the time that our time restraints, we had 2 weeks in the warehouse to film a movie and build our own sets on the go, which I owe 100% shout out to David Ogrodowski, and a lot of other people that helped us. I'd say the whole Pittsburgh community came together. Anyone that I knew and Dave knew, we just got together and we made a movie. And that was my biggest budget. That gives you an idea of where I am very low budget. But that doesn't mean I'm expanding. I've been expanding. That's why I met Austin. Well, that's a whole nother story, but it's just, there's things that, you just have to go out, get yourself out there and network. And that's another important thing I'll say. Network. That's where I'm at today for doing that. And I'm still at the bottom. I feel like, I'm still a small independent filmmaker, and I'm not complaining. I enjoy it. I'm very, no one's holding me back from my creative art, and I love that. Like I said, it's been about 5 years that I've been working with other filmmakers, and I just felt, okay, now it's my time to step it up. So I went out, got my own camera, and I just started. I'm actually, since I'm on quarantine now, I got inspired by Matt. He was making a short film, so I was like, you know what? He was making it all from his house, just him, and I was like, you know what? I'll do it. I'll try it too, since I just got this camera. So all this week, I'm filming a short film, like a 5 minute, short film with just me. So I figured, why not?
Yeah, why not? So let me ask you, since you're a writer, do you also get involved with other people's projects when it's not writing? Like, say they need help with lighting or whatever. Do you ever step in and do that?
Absolutely. That's a huge thing. I'm not gonna say I'm a professional at any of those things. I'm still learning a lot. But for example, on every single one of the 48-hour projects, I always helped either hold some lights, just helping set up, the boom mic. I've done that many times. And on my feature film, I stepped in and did that several times, because a lot of people, it's like a lot of people that you have on set, they realize like they're doing this for the passion too. So not everyone gets paid. Some people get paid, but not everyone. Like I was talking about me, but not just me, other people, but the people that stepping in, that's why they see how passionate I am about doing this. So I'm forever grateful for them. We help each other at the end of the day is what it comes down to it. So if who's ever set them on, if I'm helping out on a project, I say, hey, do you need help with this? I know how to operate this. I can, whatever I don't know, I ask and I learn. That's what I love about it. So yeah, anytime I'm on any other set, I try to learn something new every day, because there's always something new to learn.
Right, for sure. So what would be your dream project?
Ooh, dream project. I guess really my dream project would just be to just keep doing what I'm doing now. Just keep writing, creating, and making movies. And also any forms of art really that I can say that I can do. Like like I said, I was working on a graphic novel, and for me, my dreams were to get, that was my first baby, because I started writing that graphic novel when I was 16. It was an idea I had, and I just could never find the right artist, and I finally found the artist that I mesh with, and this person does all my logos for my company. So she does a lot of the stuff. Shout out to Day Korea. She lives in Mexico.
How'd you hook up with her?
Networking, Facebook. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly who reached out to who, but we met, and I'd say, but my dream would just to be like I said, I just keep making film and making art, being creative.
So when you're shooting a film and it's your film, do you like to wear multiple hats in one day, or do you like to have a crew to take care of all that for you?
I'd prefer to have a crew, be honest with you. I'm not saying, I will say it like this. I've grown over the past couple of years with this. I just learned what I like and what I don't like. As a writer, I have my own vision and my own story. I don't like when people try to come in there and try to change things or make it different. And I'm not saying I'm open to criticism. I'm completely open to that. But a couple things moving forward, I just learned I don't want to do in the future is I don't want to co-write. I don't want to co-direct. I don't mind having an assistant, but when there's too many, it's that phrase. You ever heard that? Too many cooks in the kitchen? I've dealt with that since day one, and that's nothing against anyone in the community. It's my own experiences. That's just how it's been. But no, that's not to say I really do believe you need people. You need people to help you. You need a crew. That's important. That's more important than anything. I couldn't do this all by myself. But to answer that correctly, I guess I'll say, of course, at some point when I'm that experienced at that level, yeah, I'd love to be able to just be the director who doesn't even need anyone there to tell, I don't have to go over to someone and be like, okay, what's next? What do I do? But at the same time, I feel like I am a commanding, let me do what I got to do because it's my idea, it's my vision. But at the same time, I still will always go back to that. You need people to help you. That's how I got my start. I worked with another crew. So it's just kind of lean on me,
Right. So what are your strengths as a filmmaker?
Ooh. I'd say my biggest strength is being a creative thinker, creative writer. My imagination, I've always had a creative, just out of the box creative mind. And that would be the number one thing. That and that pretty much says it there. I'd say that for me is the biggest. That and just also be willing to do things that most people won't try. I'll try different things. I like to be very unique and different, and come up with different things that most people don't think of. And I also have many different influences, not just in the horror genre. So I have a lot of different influences that have made me who I am. So there's a lot of things that people are going to be like, oh, wow, he's not a one-trick pony. I don't just fall into the horror genre. I want to do dark comedies. I've got some ideas. I don't know if you like John Hughes, but I love John Hughes. And I want to do a John Hughes style type dark comedy. Definitely a lot of artsy stuff. I'm into a lot of that kind of stuff. I could go over the place, but there's.
Well, do you find you have a style?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's hard for me to just put it down to describe my style, because it's kind of like when you watch Wes Anderson, his style. When you watch Quentin Tarantino, his style. So I guess kind of like when you watch my movies, I haven't developed as a director my style yet, but as far as a creative writer, I definitely have my own style. I got my own style from writing poems that in my head were song lyrics, because I thought I was going to be a rock star, and then I realized I am not a musician at all. But the writing always stuck with me. That's why I knew this was what I was meant to do. Having such a wild imagination, I would just take these poems and, I would sit there and I would start coming up with ideas within that poem that were structured as a story. I just didn't see it that way back then. Then once I started realizing that these artists that inspired me, whether they were bands, at first it was music. Music will always be my first love and still is. Music is what got me through everything. It's another art form that I love. Certain bands, I'll just say, there was one that I really loved the writing style was a lot. This is how I'll dive into this. The writing style was what got me into having a style, because they would write about dark metaphors, dark imagery, but they were doing it in a way that I could relate with what they were talking about, whether it was talking about a bad relationship, your loved one dying, or anything, something like that. But things that just kind of, all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, wow, I love that writing style. I want to, so I didn't, I'm not gonna say I didn't just,
You're drawn to it.
I was drawn to it. Yeah. And I took that style and I made it my own. And then from there on, anything, when I was playing guitar, anything I did within my art, I always had that kind of my own prose, my own style of, I knew what I liked and how I wanted to do it. And it was usually there was a lot of dark prose, dark imagery and metaphors in there. I just find it fascinating because I guess probably because of, I think mainly because of just how, I went to a Catholic school growing up, and I don't mean to get on to that, but but basically,
those damn nuns.
Yeah, well, I'll just say that we all have our own inner demons, And I'll just leave it at that. But I actually, now that I look back on it, I'm like grateful. I'm not saying that I enjoyed those moments back in high school, but I would just say I'm grateful that I went through that kind of darkness, because then I was basically transformed like a butterfly. Yeah, I'm a butterfly. But no, I literally, I transformed into this. I found writing. Writing is what got me out of all these depressing things that, life is like that. It's like I was talking about earlier. Horror films for me is about survival. Everything is like comes at you, it hits you like a freight train, and then what are you going to do? You're going to just let it defeat you? No. You're going to stand up and you're going to pick up that pen, or you're going to type, whatever you paint, whatever your art is, you cling to that passion, whatever it is. It could be anything. And, that's for me what keeps me sane, somewhat sane, and keeps me, keeps me going. So yeah, I would say that it's number one for me is you have to have some type of outlet, a positive outlet, because if you don't have that, at least for artists, for people like me, if I didn't have that passion, that something, whatever it was, I would be lost. And I wouldn't know what I'm doing here. So I'm forever grateful for knowing that and having that.
Cool. So I'm going to jump back to earlier. We're talking about going. You mentioned a couple times that you were at conventions. Is that part of your marketing plan?
Absolutely.
So how does that work?
Okay, so like I was talking about earlier about Zombisha, these characters I created, Zombisha will always be. I always try my best to get her at the conventions as the spokesmodel. So I have people come up to the table. They'll see all my merch, see all my stuff, but I want to be more interactive with everyone. So when they come up, I'll have Zombisha greet them, and I don't have a specific formula for that really, because I'm just starting out with that. But I would just say that it's one of those things. Like last year I was at Living Dead weekend, which is Monroeville Mall, and I had the first trial run of Zombisha, and everybody wanted to meet her. They saw her. I knew it made sense, because Living Dead weekend, zombies, Zombisha, horror, it just all went together. But
how was the attendance at that?
Oh, it was really nice. It was big.
People come from how far, do you think?
I couldn't give you big numbers, but I will tell you right now, I met somebody from Ireland. I knew people that were coming from Michigan, New York. So people were coming from all over. Yeah. Yeah, the conventions get a lot of people. That's why I stress it's important to, you can't just be behind the computer, because I sit there and I'll go on my, the Just Buried website, and I'll post memes, silly stuff, and, I'll put out information. The thing is, though, if you're not there, showing people that, this is who I am, you're not meeting people and networking, and it goes back to networking. That's where I met a lot of other talented people just going to conventions. And I'm not talking just like the vendors. I mean, I'll meet people that are just going there as guests that happen to be a makeup artist. I've met so many different types of walks of people, and just having them come up to my table and us just just talking, shooting the shit is what I love. And that's kind of where I'm at with that. And the conventions, I also see, networking, number one. That's the big thing. If you're talking about how does that help your business, it's huge. I've met so many different types of people, and they're like, oh yeah, sure, I run a podcast. I'd like to have you on. That's where I met a lot of different people from all over. And I'll just say, I'm doing these promotional videos that's going to be a part of my company, where we will basically just break down all the news and upcoming things that are happening within Just Buried, new projects. And I have the spokesmodel do most of the talking, because I'm not really good at doing that. So that's where that comes in. But I believe that the conventions are extremely crucial if you want to, I won't say so much get a following. I would say just to network, and just to get to meet other talented people, and you never know where that will take you.
So what's the plan to make it big, though? Like what are the next steps for you to make it big?
Well, I mean, I know, I don't know. I know what I'm doing. I'm just going to keep following the steps of others. And I don't know if it's going to be successful or not. Nothing's written in stone. All I know is I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I hope this happens. I hope this happens for me. Cause that's not how you do it.
Well, that's how we all are, though.
I mean, we are like that, but what I'm saying is you have to be driven. You have to be original. You have to have original ideas. You have to be creative, and like I say, you have to be inspired, be driven, and you can't just sit back and think that it's all going to happen for you, because it's not. You have to go out there and get it. And people have always said that, because it's the truth. That's how people became successful. And I know also, I'm a fighter. You got to be strong. You got to keep going. You're going to fall down, you get back up. I mean, that's cliche, but it's the truth. I mean, it happened to me so many times. It's still happening, but I still keep getting back up. I keep going. And I know that I'm on this planet for a reason. It's to make art, and no matter who, no one can take that away from me, So it's the second I stop doing it, that's on me. But I look at it like, get yourself out there. If you want to be big or whatever that is, I mean, my thing is, I'm just happy to be here, on this planet and making art, knowing what I love. And I definitely have a goal. I definitely want to take it to the next level. For me, that's just keep going to conventions and doing what I'm doing. Plugging, getting my stuff out there, doing these promotional videos, making a new website, networking, doing whatever you can, thinking outside of the box.
Yeah. Well, I've asked a lot of people this question, and I think I know your answer, but I asked them, if you got to the end of this whole thing and you never did make it big, you'd still have wanted to do it, right? Because you love to do it.
Absolutely.
You can't keep butting to it. Okay.
My ultimate goal is to take this as far as I can. The sky's the limit, all those cliche sayings, but it's the truth. I mean, I'm not holding myself back in any way, if that's what you're saying. Like, I want to go all the way. It's just,
some of us, we get to a certain point and we just coast. We're comfortable with that level, and we just coast.
I'm not a coaster.
No, not a coaster. Oh, good.
No.
Okay, so what are your weaknesses as a filmmaker?
I'd say I have a lot of them right now, because I as a filmmaker, director, I've only just started being the DP camera operator. So I have a lot of weaknesses in that area, which I could say, but I'm learning every day, and it's one of those things. I mean, I'd say probably, other than the technical side of it, that's a number one weakness of mine. I have to get more involved with that stuff, but there's always YouTube videos. And there's always my other filmmaker friends who always help me. Also, shout out to Jesse Hutchins. But it's just people that are helping me, and I'm forever grateful for that. And, I'll just keep excelling and keep trying to learn from my mistakes. But I'd say my number one weakness right now, is a lot of the technical stuff. But I'm starting to get there. I'd say, and when I say technical, I mean with lighting. To be specific, lighting is one of those things that I've learned from a lot of great filmmakers how to do it, but still, it's a challenge.
Lighting is an art. I mean,
it is like, oh, absolutely. Just like editing, and I'll say editing is another one. I don't edit myself, and that's one I want to dive into that. That's my next thing. But
I think learning to edit, you may not want to be an editor, but it'll help you shooting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not that I have to know every little thing about editing. It's that I want to just learn the basics.
You want to know how to transition.
Right.
That kind of thing.
So as a filmmaker, I'll say this. I don't know how people don't, if you're a filmmaker, why would you not want to be in the same room with the editor? I want to be in there. I want to be learning, and also being able to be like, wait a minute, I wanted this to be like that. I want this to be over here. So how do I do that? Just things like that. So you have to.
Like I said, I did one film, and it was a pretty big flop as far as I'm concerned. It was okay. It was fun. But anyways, I learned so much editing that thing together. It's like, oh, why didn't I do this? Or why did I do this? Or how come I didn't think of that?
I'm just not I'm not gonna like knock myself down. Anyone can learn it. I know I can learn it. It's just, to me, I look at it like it's another language. I'll be sitting every time I'm in front of any editing program, even probably the easiest one, I'm sitting there like, okay, I know how to drag that over there, but now
you get
what?
caught in the weeds instead of like in the creative
YouTube, please help me.
So when you go into a film, you show up the day that you're shooting, not a 48, because that's sort of run and gun a lot of times. Do you have like a very defined shot list of what exactly you want to get, or how flexible are you that day?
Since I'm so new to the filmmaking stuff, I put myself in this, how can I describe? I'm used to already visualizing what I'm writing. So I see it as a movie already. So in that way, you take that and you put it over here, and then you take this over here, and it's the shot list. And you're like, well, this is how I saw it in my head. But then whenever you go out and you shoot it, there's so many different other factors.
Reality, like a real set, instead of your imagination.
Exactly. So yeah, there's many different things going on there.
What are some common mistakes you see new filmmakers make?
I don't think I'm the person to ask that.
You're a new filmmaker, huh?
Yeah.
So what are some of the mistakes you make?
That's better.
Okay, those are easy to find.
Yeah, because I don't know. Because I'd say probably maybe take more time to set up the shot, because I work with different filmmakers and different DPs and directors, and they all have their own different unique styles of how they do it. And some people like to take their time and really get that perfect shot, and they'll be sitting there on scene one for like half the day, and you're like, all right, well, come on, man, we got to move forward. But at the same time, I still I look up to that and I say, hey, these guys are really putting a lot into it. They want it to be perfect, they want it to be great. So I don't know. I mean, I'd say, don't move so quick. Myself, I'd say, and advice to other people, take your time with it and get the best shots you want. Also work together. Don't work against each other. Try to, find those people that are in your corner that you've meshed with, that that you guys will come up with creative criticism and good ideas and bounce ideas off each other, because when you're on set and you're with people that don't see eye to eye and people that clash, that's not a good situation. That would be the number one, I'd say, thing, is like to definitely choose the right people. I don't know who the right people are, but just kind of.
Yeah, it's a weird dynamic, because
it is.
You're all there like pro bono usually, and there seems to be two ideas for pro bono. One is like, okay, let's have a good time. Yeah. The other is, if we're doing this for free, we might as well get something really spectacular out of it. You know what I mean? That's because that's all I'm going to walk away with, is this thing to brag about.
Yeah.
And like those people that are just there for a good time, or like,
Yeah. And the people that are there for a good time, I get it. They're not going to 100% be there, with you, because they're there just having a good time. And I get that. And the thing is, it always goes back to, I'm already paying like all these other people. I can't pay every single person, I mean,
Right. But I guess what I'm saying is we're all motivated by different things. And for freebies, it's one of those things where I like to walk away. I'm there. If I'm not having a good time, I'm not coming back. But at the same time, there's a satisfaction level that you want. It's like, I don't want to go there and put out a crappy project,
I guess I should say, goes back to what I was just saying, is that you want to work with people that they're interested in what you're doing. They love what you're doing. They're just as passionate as you are. And they already know going into this that it's a low budget affair. They're not going to be making much money. I'm not making any money. And so therefore you should know right off the bat that this is a passion project, and that it's all about just making something that we love as artists, and we want to make the best possible thing. And there's going to be moments where people, will get a little stressed out, but hey, that's life. And I mean, like we get through it, and there's a lot of things that happen on set, makeup artists not showing up, or, weather, lighting. There's a million things, but it's just that you find solutions. You don't keep beating a dead horse.
Right.
Find solutions.
I wonder if you get into the big leagues, that if it's even more serious to the point where it's not fun.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I never want to work in any field, anything, whatever I'm doing. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's just filmmaking, whatever. I don't want to work around people where I feel it's a negative environment or people are miserable or it's just not a fun atmosphere. Because I mean, as serious as I take my art and what I do, I honestly, I was gonna say bless you, but you were coughing. Bless you anyways. But no, I mean, I honestly, I don't know. I feel like it should be fun. And even if I get to that level, and hopefully I do, no, I will get there. No, but even if I get to that level, and when I do, I still want to be around people that are there for the passion of it. They're having fun, and they know that it's a fine line. It's like we were talking earlier. It's like, okay, there's the difference is when you're at that level, people are getting paid. Everyone's getting paid. So no one can look at you like there will be people that will be, how they are, but that's just the way it is. I look at it like, we're out here, we're doing this. This is what we love to do. And now if you're getting paid to do it, then that's your dream job. You should be happy and grateful for that.
Right.
So have fun with it.
You know how we're talking about like levels, getting up to the next level?
Yeah.
Like, what are some of the things you've learned recently that have gotten you to the level you are now? Like, what are the things that used to be a problem that you've pretty much have a handle on now?
I'd say probably with shot list. I became better at that with, and when I say shot list, I mean coming up with those, how you want those shots compared to how you see them visually in my head. Because I always see them as how I see them, how I paint the pitch, I write it down and I see it that way. But then whenever we're on set, things change. And
do you storyboard?
Oh yeah, we do storyboard. That's one thing that has been so tremendously helpful. Caitlin Rush, she does really great storyboards, and she did storyboards for Batshit, and I'm having her come back for my next feature, Spooky Party Bros. So I definitely 100% support the idea. That's obvious. Filmmakers know that already, but I mean, it was new to me when I started doing, like, anytime we did the short films, no storyboards. But now that I have the storyboards next to the shot list, I'm like, this is how you do it. So I definitely learn from, it helps. See, I already can have it in my head. I visualize, but not everyone sees it same way, and they don't know what's going on in my mind. So having those storyboards, it's great.
Do you do the storyboards after you've seen the location? Because I could see that not being real helpful. Like, I could see a shot list, okay, I got to get this, and then you ad lib while you're there. But if you have storyboards and they don't at all match the reality of the place.
Yeah, that's a good question. No, I always see all my locations first. And I can have, well, honestly, I take that back. I've had a situation like for Batshit where Caitlin she did all the storyboards without seeing the locations, but I had seen all the locations before. So I knew the warehouse. I knew what we were going to have, but I didn't see how we were going to build the sets. So there's a lot of different aspects to it. Like, I knew where we were going to be filming at, but I didn't know exactly how it was going to look compared to the storyboards. But most of those storyboards they're not really complex. It's like, here's Felix in the living room. Here's him, there's things that we can get around. But I'd say I'd agree with you though on that. I think it's important to see all of your locations, and then have someone also who is doing the storyboards see the locations. That's something I never thought about until you brought that up. But I mean, I usually just kind of, here's the story. I want you to, make the storyboards. And she was really good because she's also a storyteller herself. So she was able to visualize that in that way. So that for me was, I thought, perfect. I mean, if you can't look at the storyboard and understand what's going on, then why are you even here?
Right.
So, but I agree with you on the location thing, because that changes a lot of elements.
What is it you like best about filmmaking?
I hate to keep going back to just the creative side of it, but that will always be me. And that's the creative side.
It's just your outlet, huh?
Yeah, my outlet. And it doesn't have to be just writing. It could be anything within that story. That it could be, music to the story, the characters, creating your own story and your own. All of my stories, almost, every single one of my stories, I created my own world within it. So it's the city of Roslyn. So that's like just a made up city I made up. Just kind of like you got, what is it? Stephen King has his own made up, Derry, and like I don't even know. Some of them might actually be real.
I think
places.
a lot of them are made up based
Yeah.
on where they grew up. That's
Yeah.
my theory, probably.
Yeah, I pretty much, there's a lot of artists that do it. A lot of directors that they just come up with their own city, their own road, but they're influenced by where they live, like you just said. And I mean, that's pretty much what I'm doing. Other than filming here in Pittsburgh, I also just started filming in Ohio, because I have that. I've Austin, he lives in Ohio, so we have that option. But mainly it's all shot here in Pittsburgh, and I feel like, this is my hometown, and also it's just, I mean, I look at it like it can be shot. They shot Batman here. I mean, you can make any city your city, your road. I mean, as far as a writer, it's just about the story and the characters, and there's so many things you can do within that story. That's kind of why I always go back to the creative side of it. But as a filmmaker, also just being able to get those crazy, awesome shots, those unique, different things that like, what? Like you'd be surprised people come up with shots that, you never would have thought of. And you're like, why didn't I think of that? Or just coming up with some really just amazing locations too, finding like a location that you never knew existed and you've lived here your whole life. That's
Right.
happened to me.
Oh, yeah.
So things like that.
So what do you like least about filmmaking?
I'd hate to say this, but things I don't like the most, I don't like about filmmaking is, I'd say when people clash, or when there's situations where, not even just when people clash,
Just overstress.
being overstressed over a situation, not getting that shot you want, and you're there and you can tell everyone is starting to get stressed out and they're ready to go home, and things like that. People not showing up when they're supposed to be there. Talking about like main actors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How do you deal with
stuff
that?
You have to rewrite. You do a rewrite to the story. That's what has happened.
Oh, Bill just died on the way. No, it's like you have to, no.
I know it's like you can't even think, you don't even want to imagine that happening, but it has happened and we had to do that. It's just the way it is, and you come up with what you can. Like, I don't want to keep going back to makeup artists, but when a makeup artist doesn't show up, you reach out to whoever you can get at that time. In certain situations, we're not in. I liked Batshit. I liked that was my first feature in a way. It kind of it was the blueprint for everything. I saw what I want to do and what I don't want to do in the future as a filmmaker. So, and there was a lot of things that, for example, location. The warehouse was really great, but the location was awful. Terrible location. We were right next to it, sitting on a train track, right next to
Sound guy loved that, I bet. Huh?
Oh yeah, for the sound, that was the sound guy. I feel really bad for the sound guys, and probably woman. Basically, we're sitting next to an amphitheater, and they had concerts. It was during the summer, so they had every Saturday they had a concert. Then you had trucks, boats, because we're on the river. Yeah, it was pretty bad. But that's when it goes back to, I learned, what to do and what not to do. Definitely pick out the right location. Hold auditions for every single actor. Know who you want to play, who you want in your film. Make sure that they fit that role. Not even so much of like, can they act Well, yeah, can they act? Definitely.
That comes in handy.
That you should know. You should have someone who can definitely act. But I'm just saying in general, like look at it like every little thing, every little detail. Don't always make sure you have everything down. So that is definitely an important thing.
Yep, it sure is. I know what you mean. I mean, it's like the film that I did. I did it at the beach, and it was with my niece. She was the actress, and
That'd be awesome. Shooting on a beach, but then the sound, I don't know.
Actually, it worked out. It was it worked out, but she had never acted before. Her friend had never acted before, and and I had never directed, so it was just a cluster. But it was fun. I had a good time. Yeah. I mean, you can't beat it.
Believe me, that's where I come from. That's all of my previous. It's mostly like I'm just now to the point where I'm like, I made my first feature, and I'm like, okay, now I want to be super serious about everything. I want, like I said, hold auditions, like have it all, more professional, and basically know, there's still going to be things that I'm like, I don't know. I'm still going to be learning, but at least now I've learned a few things that I know.
Right. Well, I mean, that's part of the joy of this is you learn every time you do it.
Absolutely.
But like I said, it's almost like a double-edged sword because sometimes it gets more and more serious and it's kind of maybe not as much fun,
Yeah.
Or it's like it's more gratifying because you come up with this better film.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't as much fun.
I know it's hard to it's weird. I noticed that because in general, I'm a goofy guy. I like to make people laugh. You can tell in my movies because it's mainly, most of my movies have comedy element. There's always a comedy element in most of my films. And then when I'm directing, it's like all of a sudden I hit the brakes and I'm like, wait a minute, no one's taking me serious. I don't like that.
Right.
So I have to be a little more stern,
Right.
But I'm learning.
We all are. So what advice would you give to someone just breaking into filmmaking in Pittsburgh?
Man, that's such a good question.
This is just advice to the community.
I'm not the best at giving advice. I could just tell you this. Everything I said earlier, if you're listening to the podcast, about networking, but finding the people that you best work with, that you mesh with. And what I mean by that is people that you can bounce ideas off of each other and you're having fun by doing that. And you're also working together very well. And that helps. It's just setting a positive atmosphere. That people want to come on set and they know, oh, this is Todd Wolfson. He's a fun, he's a great, nice guy. I love working with him. Anytime I hear that, I'm just blown away. I'm like, thank you. I appreciate that so much. And that's the kind of environment I want to have on set and in life in general. So you want to be around people that are positive, that want to see you succeed and you want to see them succeed. And you want to basically help each other out and you want to learn from that person and hopefully you learn something from them as well. And you just basically just keep going and also keep growing. That rhymes. And literally, network your ass off. I'm serious. Like that is how I got where I'm at. Like just from networking alone, meeting people, and that opens doors. And you meet other people and then they say, oh, I love horror movies. Oh, let's talk more about that. Oh, hey, by the way, I know this makeup artist. I'd say I've succeeded. In that department as far as just growing, meeting people, and learning from them. And I'm trying to think if I left anything out. Money. Save up some money, and have some money for food so you can make everyone happy on set, and they can eat and they're happy. And
that's all it takes sometimes.
Honestly, the little things like that. You don't have to go to school, but I'd say if you have the money and you found the right school, and whether that's the school of going to a makeup, FX school or wherever, directing, you want to learn how to edit, do it. Yeah, learn, go online. YouTube has a lot of great those tutorials that you can learn.
There's a ton of good ones out there.
Yeah, I don't even use them as much as I when I started. I need to get back into that. But I honestly, a lot of things like getting up off your ass and just doing it. I mean, that's the honest truth. I mean, just get yourself out there. Go to those conventions, get yourself out there, and the more you network, the more people you meet, the more you grow as an artist, whatever you're doing. I'd say that's probably the most advice I could give to anyone. And I know some of it's common knowledge, but a lot of people don't have the drive in them to do it. I say if it's something you love, you have to take the first step. The first step is getting yourself out there. Go to those 48-hour film festivals. Go to them. If you're into film, that's a great way to meet people and conventions, like I keep saying. But honestly, yeah, any of those type of places. Go on Pittsburgh Filmmaker, the group pages. There's a bunch of them.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Do you ever go to those Crew Connect meetings?
Actually, every time they have them, I've been wanting to go since I've heard about them. But every time they have them is on. I work twilight, which is 3 to 11 p.m. And it's always on the day that I work. So I plan on, hopefully the next one I can take off. I can use a vacation day. I can go to one of them because I've heard nothing but great things about them. It's another just awesome place.
Yeah, they're good. I really enjoy them.
I really feel like if you're not getting yourself out there and you're not meeting people and you're not growing and every day learning something new, then you're not passionate about it. You don't care. You have to get yourself out there.
Are you a member of the Carnegie Screenwriters?
I'm not.
You should. That's a interesting group. I mean, I don't know if you've never been to any of their meetings or anything. Okay, they have a meeting. I think it's the third Saturday of the month, and it takes place in Mount Lebanon. It's at a library. But anyways, I've been to a couple of them, and they're really, really interesting. Basically, you go and you just BS for a while, and then they hand out scripts, and they read like maybe 5 or 7 pages of a script.
I'll tell you right now, they were one of the first teams 48-hour films that I saw that I was blown away. I was like,
Which
wow.
one was it?
Actually, kind of like a situation where they had kidnapped somebody. It was kind of one of those like situations where it was like they were dressed kind of like wearing these like, I want to say Clockwork Orange, but like I think they were wearing just different crazy masks. They came in there. I really like. I thought
there's some quality stuff comes out of that.
The actors that they had they were believable, and they're just. I could tell that they knew what they were doing, like obviously. But I mean, there's just I definitely have to check that out. I will definitely.
One of the things I've noticed about a lot of the films I worked on is they're pretty cool until the very end. Like there's just some weak endings. Like, is that something you have a handle on, or is that like I'm not
going to say I have a handle on it. I don't even know if I'm good at it. I'll just say that I know that the ending is just as important as the beginning, as the middle, as in between.
I think it's more important because that's what you're left with.
Yeah. I can't agree with you on that. I think that the whole story is important. I think that building a character is important. You can't neglect your characters. They have to have a purpose within that story. I also think that they should have moments where it just depends on the story, really. I mean, if I'm writing a comedy, there isn't really, but if I'm writing a story where I know that I want to see these characters evolve and become something different for the better or worse. And I mean, I can agree with you to a certain extent on the ending. I know what you mean. It just depends on where you want to go with the story. Do you want to stop it there? Do you want to set it up for a sequel? So
right.
That like the ending, I do believe is very important, but I think all the elements of the story should be just as important. Sure, yeah, the ending should be awesome. That though, it should be great. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think that if people go into it and they write a story, a movie, whatever, and there's a lot of filler, and that to me and my dad had this conversation. I despise filler. I think it's and when I say filler, I mean when people are just randomly talking about nothing, it has nothing to do with the story.
Right.
It never
ties together.
Yeah. It doesn't help anything. It's pointless. It's what are you doing as a storyteller? Like, so that to me, you're going to have, you should know where your character is going and also be throwing in twists in there to make it interesting. Like, make the audience think like, oh, I know what's going on, but also make them think too, give them a little credit, give them some credit. I mean, come on.
Okay. So what are you working on now? What are your recent projects?
So my most recent projects, other than that fun little short film I'm working on at home, which is called Blood Relic. The main projects I'm working on is Spooky Party Bros, Spooky Party Brothers. I just shortened it to Bros. It's basically it's going to be my second feature film, and we started working on the trailer for it, but then this virus thing, pandemic, took over. So we have a few more things to shoot, but we should, once this is all over, this nightmare is over, I want to dive back into that and finish the trailer. And we're going to be, hopefully, like I'm bringing up the pandemic, but that pushed everything back. So we were originally going to film the feature this summer, but now I don't know. That's all up in the air. So hopefully it'll be pushed back to the fall. So that's the next thing. I'm also working on a graphic novel with the artist called Demon Prose, which is basically a story. It's my baby. It's a story I've been working on forever. It's basically Evil Dead meets a lot of different things. Hellboy, Kevin Smith. I could keep going, but I would say I want to back it up though to the feature film Spooky Party Bros is a tribute to 80s monster movies. What I mean by that is just all these fun, silly horror comedy like slasher monster movies back in the 80s. And basically I'm working with a bunch of different people. I'm working with the BPO guys, and those are guys that I met at conventions, and I already liked what they were doing, and I saw them, and I was like, you guys, I think would be perfect for this idea I have, and they were down. So I'm working with them. I have of all things, I have Maria Olsen, which is a Hollywood actress. She's in the film, and a lot of other talented people are attached to it. I also want to say, besides I talked about the graphic novel, I'm working on the podcast, which is, I'm on a podcast now, but we're doing, me and Austin, my business partner, we're doing 2 separate podcasts, different themed shows. One's called Slasher Bash. We review all independent horror films, mostly, all local guys. And some, not just all local. We're trying to go out, and we also were working on a new podcast, which is called, one I came up with, it's called The Horror Avengers, which is, think of Marvel's Avengers, but you assemble your own team of these heroes from horror films, like Ash from Evil Dead, Toxic Avenger, things like that. And we get interactive with our audience by saying, hey guys, who do you think? Austin will pick his guy or girl, and I'll pick my guy or girl, whoever it is, and we'll say who would win in this battle. Who do you guys think? So that's important. I bring that up because these podcasts we do are also part of my company. So it's all another outlet of what I love to do, and it kind of comes back together. But
brings attention back to your website too. That's
absolutely
good. Huh. Okay, so if people wanted to reach out to you to network, how would they do that?
Number one place I'll say right now would be Facebook. If you go to our Just Buried Productions Facebook page, we're also on Instagram. I'm under my moniker name, Killer Wolfson, on Instagram, but we have a Twitter. We're under Just Buried Prod Productions. Mainly those are and YouTube, obviously. Yeah, we're on YouTube. So if you just go, like I said, Just Buried Productions, and we're currently working on a brand new website. So I have a merch store. I will eventually drop that. We're in works of dropping that, a few things like t-shirts, stuff like that. But what the ultimate goal of the plan right now is once we have the website finished, we're going to link everything together. So you'll have the podcast, you'll hear about the graphic novel, the new movies, everything all on that one central hub, so that's the ultimate goal right now. And just continue working on films. Like I said, the next feature, and I have Austin, who he wants to get. That's why he's involved, not just the podcast. He wants to start making his own film. So he's working on his own film that's down the line. And no, those are the main things right now. I want to make some more short films as well, because I was inspired through a couple other filmmakers just telling me, oh yeah, you can always just keep making a couple short films on the side just to get that experience, to keep filming. Because I noticed with these, I want to do the features, and that's a big thing, but there's gaps. Like there's serious gaps that I won't, be able to film. So I figured, you know what? Not only that, but working on short films, not just my films, but we were talking earlier, is just getting back into that, like going other people's, jump on their sets, ask them, hey, do you need any help with this? That's one thing I have to get more involved with that I fell off, that I want to get back into. So just once again, just get myself out there. And so what if I'm only, for me, that's working on someone's set and helping out with sound or light, or whatever. That to me is tremendous thing as well, because it's once again, I'm terrible at these. I should also mention I have an IBMDB page. I just over the past year or two, that's something I was like, oh, that's something important. I should probably have that. So that's another place you can find, or at least find something. Batshit is on there. I want to start, adding more to that as I progress and keep making films. But I'd say, yeah, that's going back to just getting yourself out there and just keep making movies,
right?
Keep creating art.
That's great. Well, I want to thank you very much for coming in today. It was awesome. And I'll be looking forward to seeing Batshit when it comes out.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on your podcast. And this was a really fun, laid-back podcast. So appreciate it. And I'll definitely recommend a few other people if you're interested. I can get other filmmakers.
Definitely.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you found us on our webpage, please leave a comment and let us know what you think. If you found us on iTunes or Spotify and you like the show, please leave a rating or review. And whatever you do, hit the subscribe button. Thanks again, and we'll be here next week with another episode.